is Christophe Delafarge, and I work for Schneider Electric. We are all together here at ENLIT in Milan for the launch of Grids of the Future and Partnership of the Future. Why a press release? Why a press conference for Grids of the Future and Partnership of the Future? Because it's about climate. As you all know, we have a climate issue, and this climate issue is an energy issue. And Grids of the Future and Partnership of the Future will help to tackle the problem we have today. We have an energy issue because 80% of the CO2 emissions are related to energy. As you probably know, 45% of the emission are on the production side of the energy, and 55% on the consumption. It's true, we have this climate stake, but we can still limit the heating to 1.5 degrees. How can we do that? We can do that if we manage to remove 10 gigatons of CO2 each year, every year, until 2030. And here, if we are here all together, I am with Gary Lawrence, Vice President for Power and Grid segment, Scott Kohler, Vice President, Marketing Innovation Strategy for Digital Grid, and Loida Finella, Low Voltage Marketing Vice President. They will explain to you what Grids of the Future and Partnership of the Future will do in order to go to this carbon neutrality. Gary, the floor is yours.
Well, welcome everyone, and thank you, Christophe, for launching the challenge. Now, I'd like to say it's only possible by having a smart bi-directional grid. We call that grids of the future. Grids of the future are the only way we can drive the energy transition, helping the world halving emissions and reducing that 10 gigawatts of CO2 emissions required every year. I like to say that all roads for decarbonisation rely on distribution utilities, providing the essential infrastructure for the energy transition. And in saying that, distribution utilities need to invest in that essential infrastructure, smart bi-directional infrastructure, to support clean electricity and the growing demand for renewable generation. It's worth to say that in the next 10 years are going to be known as the electric decade, promising a low carbon future, really powered by reliable, resilient, decentralized, renewable electricity. We call that electricity 4.0. Now moving forward, okay, this can only happen by a data-driven grid overhaul of distribution of the grid, driving the data and driving the grid efficiency there. So in the future there, we have to focus on that. I'll stop there.
Thank you, Gary. So Grids of the Future is going to be the backbone of this energy transition. And Scott, could you please tell us the role Grids of the Future will play in the life cycle of our utilities customers?
Yeah, absolutely, Christophe. You know, our continued focus and investment. Welcome. Our continued focus and investment has really brought us to become the broadest and integrated software solution portfolio provider for Grids of the Future. And we do this in a manner that we refer to as the life cycle of the grid. So this goes from planning to design, to construction, to operating, to optimizing, maintaining, and engaging. Our customers and really the industry at large need foundational, stepwise, cyber-secure approaches to managing the challenges that they have. And it's all about digital transformation and grid data management. And so based on that topic, we just published an extensive reference guide around grid data management. And it really focuses on use cases that are value-driven. We published 9 discrete use cases, and they really approach everything around data governance, workflows, and really recommending and advising approaches to how utilities can manage their journey through this transformation. So we have 4 things we'd like to announce today that really are examples and references to how we do that. And they're new releases. So the first one is all around grid flexibility. And for grid flexibility and active network management, we've taken what we do with EcoStruxure NERMs and went not just from modeling, monitoring, planning, and dispatching and operating distributed energy resources, but it's also everything around how we can look at operating limits and look at them in dynamic nature at the discrete individual units to larger scale and comprehensive system-wide. So if you do that and you're doing this dynamically, you're not just based on traditional histories, you got really strong contents of weather and changes. And now you can communicate that to marketplace, what your needs are, to aggregators, and even to customers directly. Next is major event mitigation. So this is really about solving the challenges of climate-induced weather, major weather events, but also could be cyber security attacks. And so this is really about addressing the risk of supply and energy supply disruption. And so through that, we are optimizing how we control and coordinate with grid automation to now be prepared for and planning on where these disruptions are, where they're likely to occur, for what period of time, and how we minimize the number of customers that are impacted. And increasingly, we can use distributed resources as a role in that. Number 3 is around operational efficiency, and it's our EcoStruxure Power Automation System. And this is really around enhancing digital substations and taking everything that we are optimizing in distribution substations and how do we communicate that information back to the enterprise. What used to be manual types of processes, operational systems need the same data, the same communications. And even more importantly, what we've added is predictive and really condition-based monitoring at that level and sharing that with analytics engines. The fourth one is really around our latest release for what you know is our award-winning energy and sustainability sustainable switchgear with RM AirSet. And so now we've removed SF6 from these as well. And so now you're dealing with air and vacuum interruption that is no toxic gases, just pure air. And I'll close my session here just by giving a shout out to some of the great investments and acquisitions we've made recently. And I'll name a few of them. So we've become the #1 investor in AutoGrid, strategic partner, #1 investor in Uplight. We've had the acquisition of OSIsoft and their Pi technology, and ETAP. And all of those we could have good discussions on. It's so complementary. And they're not just partnerships now, right? These are part of the Schneider Electric family and really helping us solve these challenges for a true grids of the future perspective. Krista?
Thank you very much, Scott. So we spoke about grids of the future. So grids of the future will help our customer to drive this energy transition. Utility will be at the core of the energy transition, and the grid of the future will be probably the best solution, right? You know, Schneider, we have many activities. So we spoke of the grid, but a big part of our activity is as well with many partners. So we, namely installers, panel builders, specifiers, and all these company, all these partners, in fact, can have as well a key role for decarbonization. Leida?
Absolutely. So thank you all and welcome. And as Scott already mentioned, partners for us are much more than partners. They are part of Schneider family. As my colleagues already mentioned, we know that decentralized energy systems, they are the future. However, by digitalizing our projects, we may bring some complexity in the decision process as well as some implementation delays. Through Partnership of the Future, we want to remove that. We want to remove all these barriers, and we want our customers, our partners, to be much more efficient and sustainable. For starters, to counterbalance this complexity, what we want to do is to equip with solutions to the partners which are simple. This is the key of our end game, to make simple solutions, focusing on the installation and commissioning phase. Today, we know the LB switchboard can be commissioned in less than 3 minutes. We are focusing as well on the maintenance phase. So we want to gather all the information in a very simple manner for our customers or partners to act in a very smart way. Let me give you a couple of examples here, which has released two innovations in the market. First one, Prisma Seractive, is the new low voltage switchboard. This low voltage is natively connected to the cloud, meaning that you can get information of potential voltage loss 24/7. Moreover, you can upgrade your panel by adding a kit of sensors for fire prevention, power availability, or energy efficiency. So you get it here as a partner, you can sell services and benefit for that. We are putting, as I said, in the market, the new generation of molded case circuit breakers, the new Compact NSX. These breakers, they can be equipped as well with sensors, providing information about the status of your breaker. Again, as a partner, you can benefit for that for selling services again. Back to our partners again. So thanks to My Schneider Partner Program, we empower our partners to be one step ahead to their competition. We provide them solutions and strategies to be better, and we help them to boost their business. We provide them as well software for every single step in the project, since the very beginning, design phase, up to the maintenance phase. Because today, what is key as a partner is to look at the predictive and maintenance services. So I guess you all got it. We have a strategy, we have a vision, but we cannot do it together. And because of that, we have 500,000 partners to digitize and electrify the world together. Thank you, and back to Christophe.
Thank you very much. So, as you saw, we just spoke about the launch of Grids of the Future and Partnership of the Future that are key brick, okay, regarding the sustainability and the decarbonization. Before we move to question, just a reminder, we have this press conference now in Milan at ENLIT, but in the same time, we are live through LinkedIn. So we probably have journalists, customers, they might have questions, and I invite everyone to send questions on the chat. We have experts, and they will try to answer all questions online. And if they don't have the time, we will, of course, come back with specific answer. And now, maybe I suggest to give the floor to, if you have any question in the room. We have a mic?
Yeah, I've got a question, Kelvin Ross from ENLIT Europe. So the partnership program and working with partners is for you the key way forward, you see, to accelerating the energy transition, accelerating your business, and the way forward. I would imagine you think not just for you, but for other companies in the sector, it's now moving to a far more collaborative partnership role.
Absolutely. Yeah. So the idea is, well, as I mentioned, it's Partnership of the Future. And we want to do is to build this vision together. It's not only Schneider alone or our partners alone. The key is to do it together and have a common vision together to achieve a common result together. That's the idea.
Individually, you won't get there alone.
We will not get it alone. So we need to partner with them. And because of that, we have 500,000 partners. So we have a super powerful partnership network.
And I think what you're seeing is just a continuing maturity of Schneider Electric and how we manage partners, because it is so extremely important. We certainly are not going to do everything ourselves or bring everything to market, but it's also how do you effectively be a good partner. And I think that's where we've stepped back and implemented a lot of new programs, put senior people in good roles to really drive it. And also when we think about significant investments, you know, when we have these kinds of partners, how are we onboarding them? How are we engaging? How are we training?
Absolutely.
So it's a lot of that I'm really happy to see, and the industry certainly needs it.
I think also, and we recognize it in Schneider Electric, that in terms of the energy transition, we cannot do it alone. Okay, you know, we're quite experienced in our partner network and continuing to develop
Absolutely.
that partner network moving forward. But many like-minded also realize that we have to go together in this energy transition.
Maybe one question from me. Thanks, Schneider team, for the presentation. Can you describe a little more about how grids of the future speeds up decarbonization? You mentioned the speed.
I'll start off. Okay, so decarbonization and grids of the future. You know, I think quite simply that the climate challenge is really an energy challenge. We all know that over 80% of CO2 emissions come from generation and consumption of electricity, of energy. Okay, and in reducing that, and what we do here in Schneider Electric, it's really a data-driven exercise with our customers and reducing the CO2 emissions and the energy consumption and the efficiency through, as Scott said before, through the life cycle of our customers there. You know, with our portfolio stack that we're able to support our customers through planning, simulation, design, through to operate, maintain, and then that serviceability with us and with our partners.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And it's not just the 80% of being energy related, but it's also even things becoming more closer to the edge and that distribution grid space. 55 to 70% of generation in the future, in maybe 10, 15 years, is going to be at that level. That's where the generation's coming from. So how do you manage that? That's a complete flip of where things are today. And that really drives a lot of this change too.
It doesn't work.
You just talked about 10, 15, 20 years. So when you're talking about grids of the future, obviously the future, that could be next year. It could be 5, 10, 15 years. So how are you planning and structuring and strategizing for what are the horizons that you're looking at? Or is it a constantly evolving thing?
Yeah. Well, it's constantly evolving, and certainly we'll learn as we go. But I think it's laying foundational principles around how we're going to work. And so even just, I'll give you examples from our customers. We can describe a big picture and how all these things work together. But biggest questions are, so where do I start? Or what things should I be focused on? Or I don't really have those complex issues yet. Or I don't know what my regulations are going to be. And the ones that are getting caught where things are dictated to them and they're behind, I think they're realizing, and you see a lot more progress, especially in Europe. A lot of utilities really moving forward and advancing it, starting marketplaces where in the future they probably won't operate the market itself, but they're doing it as a way to start it and get an ecosystem going and learn from it. So I think a lot of that is it for us, how we integrate and invest. It's about pulling those pieces together, and we'll see how far we go and what's the right space for Schneider to be in versus what are the likely complementary industry partners we should work with.
I'd like to also comment that, the future is now, right? We have the technologies available now. It's not a perfect world, okay, but we have to act now. I think the number one key priority is speed. So applying grids of the future, life cycle with our customers, the digitization, having that technology stack available now is really the future is now.
Absolutely.
Maybe one more. What makes Schneider different here? Are you uniquely positioned? What's the edge in terms of supporting utilities on this path to decarbonization?
Yeah, I guess I'll start just one of the things that's most interesting is the idea that we see ourselves now as this broad portfolio provider, and broader than any of the other ones we see in the industry. And so that's obviously a dedicated commitment, but it's not just that we own and deliver all these solutions. It's that we're truly subject matter experts in all these areas. We understand the requirements, the needs, the challenges, and then how do you bring these things together? And we know with a lot of our customers, they're not going to have our entire portfolio suite. So they're going to be mixes, and we're going to be integrating components within existing architectures. And so we need to know how to do that and do that well, and using standards-based integration, those kinds of things. I think that whole approach and where we are today definitely sets us apart.
I'd just like to say too, and complementing what you're saying, Scott, there is when you look at our portfolio stack and you look at our booth here at ENLIT 2021 Milan here, you can really follow the journey of the life cycle of all our products, softwares, and services that we have to offer there, from the planning, design, right through to the end destination there. So I really truly believe it's a unique proposition to our customers, what we can bring in Schneider Electric.
And to complement my colleagues as well, we provide one complete solution from the medium voltage up to the low voltage. And not many suppliers are able to do that in a very consistent way.
Great.
Absolutely.
Please.
So Scott, you talked about the challenges here in Europe that are maybe a little bit more advanced than elsewhere, and there'll be parts of Europe that are more advanced than other bits. So when you find a solution that is there part, will you have a suite of solutions that to an extent is a one fit that you can then anticipate you'll roll out elsewhere in the world, or is everything bespoke?
Oh, yeah. Well, first off, I would say geographies wise, I was talking about some of the utilities and how they're advanced and looking to chart new ways of where their business is going to go. But as far as these challenges and some of the interesting activities and projects, I mean, Australia is also extremely interesting. Lots of great drivers there. Different parts of North America have really advanced capabilities and needs. So it's interesting across geographies how we see this. But the idea of bespoke nature of things is not really sustainable for the industry, for our business. Our customers increasingly recognize that the less they ask for what they just want it their way, that's kind of ways of the past. We hold customer advisory boards, for example. We'll have 10 to 12 different utilities talking about a very specific subject matter and hear from everyone. And they hear the differences and what are the challenges that may be different for them, but what are the commonalities? And knowing that if they help shape that for us, then we're sustainable, we're growing, we're meeting their needs. What they've already invested with us will be supported. So that whole thinking, I think, has really changed the paradigm. And there's increasing aspects with cloud technology and other things. And all of this is driving for standardization, for cybersecurity reasons, lots of things.
Yeah, I think many customers are have the same destination, okay, but they have different paths, or the journey is different. Okay, some are very advanced in digitization, softwares and services, and some are less advanced. Okay, and obviously it depends on geographics. It depends on utility itself as well. Okay, and the maturity of that utility. So I think being able to harness our platform, harness our global expertise that we have in Schneider Electric, and take those lessons learned from many geographies and apply them to some localities is really another strong value that we can provide to our customer base.
All right.
Do we have more questions?
One more,
Yeah,
if you don't mind.
please.
Can you be a little more specific about what Schneider's doing to help partners when it comes to realizing this vision of grids of the future?
Sure. And that's a really good one. So that for me, it's the base of the partnership of the future. So we want to build this vision together, as I mentioned, because we cannot do it alone. And our end game, as we are saying, is to achieve this clean energy thanks to the smart grids, thanks to these future new grids that we are targeting here. So it's a common thing between building the vision together, having a common goal, and define how we are going to achieve this common goal all together. That's the key of the partnership of the future.
This in that case, I propose we conclude. So it's time for me to say a big thank you. Thank you, dear journalists, being with us. We'd like to thank as well all the people that have been with us live from LinkedIn. As you perfectly understood, the launch of Grids of the Future, Partnership of the Future, will help us, in fact, to continue our journey towards sustainability. And to end, I would like to remind that Schneider has been awarded in 2021 as the most sustainable company in the world. We got this award from Corporate Knights. So I guess you understand that Grids of the Future, Partnership of the Future, in fact, will continue to accelerate, and we definitely want with this to lead this market and the energy transition. So one more time,